Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, wondering if you simply waited too long to start planning for retirement? Maybe you're 55, maybe you're past 60, and you look back at all the years you told yourself you'd get to it someday, only to realize that someday somehow never came. You're certainly not alone in that feeling, because millions of Americans are facing the same uneasy question. What happens if I haven't saved enough? There's a quiet shame many people carry around when they think about retirement. It's that sense of regret that you didn't begin earlier, or the worry that no matter what you do now, it can't possibly be enough. You might see stories of others who retired at 50 with $1 million in the bank, and you start to believe you've missed your chance forever. But the truth is, retirement doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing proposition. It doesn't have to be perfect or follow anyone else's timeline. It just has to be enough for you, and enough is a lot more possible than you may think. Sometimes, the hardest part isn't a lack of money, but the weight of discouragement that settles on your shoulders. The idea that because you didn't start decades ago, you don't even deserve to begin now. But here's something many financial experts agree on. What you do in the next 5 to 10 years could still change your future in powerful ways. Even small, steady efforts can add up faster than most people imagine, especially if you take advantage of tools designed for people exactly in your situation. People who are starting later but who still believe their future is worth building. This video isn't here to judge you for the choices you made or the challenges life threw in your path. It's not here to make you feel like you failed. It's here to show you, step by step, how you can move forward with clarity and confidence, no matter where you're starting from. Because every day you choose to act is a day that brings you closer to security and peace of mind. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk through 7 smart, practical steps that thousands of Americans over 55 have used to create a retirement plan they can count on, even if they began later than they hoped. These aren't complicated investment schemes or risky shortcuts. They're proven actions you can tailor to fit your life, your priorities, and your timeline. So if you've ever wondered whether there's still time to catch up, if you've ever worried that you waited too long, and now there's no way forward, stay with me until the end of this video. You might discover that your best years aren't behind you after all, and that this could be the moment everything starts to change for the better. Before you can move forward with any plan for retirement, it helps to begin with a clear, honest picture of exactly where you stand right now. For many people, this part feels uncomfortable, almost like stepping on a scale after the holidays. But knowing the real numbers isn't about assigning blame or measuring your worth. It's simply the first step in understanding what's possible and what matters most to you from here on out. One of the simplest ways to start is by writing down every source of income you have today or expect to have in the years ahead. You might have a paycheck from your current job or income from part-time work or freelance projects. Maybe there are pensions you've earned through an employer, or perhaps you've been counting on Social Security. Some people also receive small payments from investments, rental property, or even hobbies that bring in extra dollars here and there. When you see all those pieces on paper, it becomes easier to understand what you can rely on and where you might need to fill in the gaps. Once you've listed your income, the next step is to look at what you've already set aside for future, no matter how big or small that amount may be. You might have a 401k through a past employer, an IRA you contributed to years ago, or a traditional savings account that has quietly grown over time. Some people find small balances scattered across different banks or retirement plans they almost forgot existed. Collecting these details gives you a single snapshot of your total nest egg as it stands today. It can also be helpful to think about what you owe, because debt has a way of draining future income faster than you expect. If you're still making payments on a mortgage, car loans, or credit cards, write down those balances and the minimum monthly payments required. Seeing these numbers clearly can feel overwhelming at first, but it's often the beginning of a plan to free yourself from debt before you retire, or at least reduce it to something manageable. The final piece of this picture is your current monthly expenses. You might already have a sense of what you spend on housing, utilities, groceries, healthcare, transportation, and personal needs. Sometimes, it helps to review 3 to 6 months of bank statements to spot patterns you didn't notice before. The goal isn't to criticize your spending, but to understand how much income you'll realistically need to cover the basics, and, hopefully, some of the joys that make life feel full. Once you pull all these pieces together, your income, your savings, your debts, and your expenses, you'll have something far more powerful than a vague worry about the future. You'll have a clear, factual starting point. And that knowledge, more than any single financial product or investment, is the foundation of a retirement plan you can trust. Because no matter how late you feel you've started, knowing exactly where you stand today is the first real step toward building a tomorrow you can look forward to with confidence. Once you have a clear picture where you stand today, it becomes a little easier to imagine where you'd like to go from here. For many people, this is a moment when hope starts to replace uncertainty, because instead of worrying in circles, you begin to see that every small effort can move you closer to something specific and meaningful. Setting realistic goals doesn't mean lowering your standards or settling for less than you deserve. It simply means choosing targets that reflect your true circumstances and the time frame you have left to prepare. A good place to start thinking about your goal is by asking yourself what kind of retirement lifestyle feels right for you. Some people dream of traveling the country in an RV or taking regular cruises, while others imagine staying close to family and enjoying a slower, simpler life. There is no right or wrong answer here, only what feels true to your values and priorities. You might find it helpful to write down a few sentences describing the way you hope your daily life will look once you stop working full-time. Even that simple act can help you see the difference between expenses you consider essential and those that are simply nice to have if the money allows. From there, you can begin estimating how much you may need to cover the basics: housing, food, healthcare, insurance, and then layer in whatever extra comforts matter most to you. It's common for people to feel intimidated when they see big numbers, like $500,000 or $1 million, mentioned in articles about retirement. But the truth is, many retirees live comfortably on much less, especially if they paid down debt, minimized housing costs, and found ways to supplement their Social Security income. One approach some financial planners suggest is to focus on a yearly income target rather than an overwhelming lump sum. For example, you might decide you'd like to have $40,000 a year in retirement income, combining Social Security, withdrawals from savings, and any part-time earnings. When you do the math backward, you can figure out how much you would need to save to fill any gaps between what you have and what you hope to spend each year. Breaking a big goal into smaller steps makes the process feel more manageable. Instead of thinking, I need hundreds of thousands of dollars, you might discover that putting away a few $100s a month over the next decade will help you get much closer than you expected. Some people feel surprised at how even modest, consistent savings can grow, especially if you're taking advantage of catch-up contributions in your retirement accounts or reducing unnecessary expenses at the same time. At this stage, it's helpful to remember that your goals are personal. They don't have to look like anyone else's version of success. Whether you hope to maintain your current lifestyle or simplify it to focus on what truly matters to you, your plan can and should reflect your own definition of security and comfort. Because in the end, a realistic goal isn't just a number on paper. It's a promise to yourself that you still have time to build a future you can look forward to without fear. When people think about retirement, they often picture a single day circled on the calendar, the moment they walk away from their career for good. But in reality, retirement can be more flexible than that, and extending your working years, even by just a few, can have a surprisingly positive impact on your financial security. For many Americans who begin planning after 55, choosing to work a little longer becomes one of the most effective ways to strengthen their nest egg and reduce the pressure to rely solely on savings. Staying employed past the traditional retirement age brings several benefits that often go overlooked. One of the most immediate is the opportunity to delay claiming Social Security. For every year you wait past your full retirement age, up to age 70, your monthly benefit increases by a significant percentage, sometimes as much as 8% per year. Over time, that higher monthly income can add up to tens of thousands of dollars, giving you a more stable foundation to cover essential expenses like housing, healthcare, and groceries. Continuing to work also means you can keep contributing to your retirement accounts. If you have a 401k or IRA, you're allowed to make catch-up contributions once you're over 50. Those extra deposits, combined with even a few more years of compound growth, can help you close the gap between what you've saved so far and what you hope to have when you finally step away from the workforce. For some people, the idea of working longer brings mixed feelings. You might be tired after decades of full-time work or eager to spend more time with family. It helps to remember that extending your career doesn't always mean staying in the same demanding role. Many people in their late 50s or 60s transition into part-time positions, consulting work, or flexible jobs that allow them to earn income while still enjoying more personal freedom. Some find purpose in mentoring younger colleagues, sharing skills they built over a lifetime, or starting a small business that reflects their passions. It's worth exploring whether your employer offers phased retirement options, which allow you to gradually reduce your hours instead of stopping all at once. These arrangements can ease emotional transition while maintaining benefits like health insurance and retirement contributions a little longer. Sometimes people feel hesitant to keep working because they worry it means they fail to save enough. But the truth is, choosing to continue earning income is often a sign of resourcefulness and commitment to your own well-being. There is no shame in deciding that your retirement will look different than someone else's. What matters most is creating a plan that supports your needs and gives you peace of mind. If you've been wondering whether it's too late to make meaningful progress, working even a few extra years can be one of the most reliable ways to improve your outlook. Every paycheck you bring in today is a chance to build more security, to reduce debt, or to save a little more for the days ahead. And every year you wait to claim Social Security is another step toward a stronger, more confident retirement. As you start thinking about how to make your savings last, it can be comforting to remember that planning for retirement isn't only about finding ways to earn or save more. It's also about learning how to spend with greater purpose. For many people over 55, the idea of cutting back on expenses feels intimidating at first, because it can sound like giving up things that bring comfort or joy. But simplify your financial life doesn't have to mean living without happiness. In many cases, it's about identifying what truly matters most to you and letting go of the rest so you can feel less burdened and more secure. One of the most significant areas where retirees can reduce costs is housing. For decades, your home may have been the center of your family's life, filled with memories and routines. Yet as you enter this next season, you might discover that the same space now feels too large, too expensive, or too difficult to maintain. Downsizing to a smaller home or moving to a more affordable area can free up substantial equity and lower your monthly bills at the same time. Some people choose to relocate closer to family or to communities designed for retirees, where expenses like property taxes, insurance, and maintenance are often lower. Another place where costs can quietly drain your resources is debt. If you're still carrying balances on credit cards, auto loans, or even a remaining mortgage, those payments can limit your ability to use your income for other priorities. Many people find it empowering to create a plan to pay down debt before they retire fully, even if it means making small extra payments over time. Reducing or eliminating debt can ease financial stress and make your monthly budget feel much more manageable. Day-to-day expenses can also add up in ways that surprise you. Subscriptions you no longer use, insurance policies that haven't been reviewed in years, and utilities that could be negotiated or reduced often continue out of habit rather than necessity. Taking the time to review your statements line by line can feel tedious, but it's often one of the simplest ways to uncover savings you didn't realize were possible. Healthcare is another area where thoughtful planning can protect both your budget and your peace of mind. Comparing Medicare plans, shopping for prescription discounts, and exploring supplemental insurance can help you avoid unexpected costs later on. Some people also find it helpful to budget separately for out-of-pocket medical expenses, so they feel more prepared for the inevitable surprises that come with aging. Simplifying your lifestyle doesn't mean giving up everything you enjoy. It means being intentional about what you spend money on, so your resources are directed toward the experiences and comforts that matter most. Many retirees discover that having fewer possessions and obligations actually brings a sense of freedom they didn't expect. No matter how much you've saved or how late you started, reducing your monthly costs can be a powerful way to stretch every dollar further. It can also give you the confidence to know that you're living within your means, on your own terms, and with a clearer sense of what truly makes this next chapter of life feel fulfilling. When you're planning for retirement later in life, every opportunity to save a little more can make a meaningful difference. One of the most helpful tools for people over 50 is the option to make catch-up contributions to retirement accounts like a 401k or an IRA. Many people don't realize these special contributions exist, or they assume they don't have enough time left for them to matter. But in reality, these extra deposits can add up surprisingly quickly, especially if you plan to work a few more years before stepping away completely. If you have a 401k through your employer, you're allowed to contribute more once you turn 50. In addition to the standard annual contribution limit, which is already significant, you can set aside extra money each year as a catch-up contribution. This means that for 2025, for example, you could contribute the standard limit of $23,000 plus an additional $7,500, for a total of up to $30,500 if you have the means to do so. This higher limit can help you close the gap between where your retirement savings are today and where you'd like them to be. The same idea applies to traditional and Roth IRAs. Once you turn 50, you're eligible to contribute an extra $1,000 each year above the regular limit. Though it might seem like a modest amount compared to some of the bigger figures people associate with retirement, consistently adding that extra $1,000 year after year can create a cushion that feels reassuring once you stop earning a paycheck. Beyond catch-up contributions, it can also help to revisit how your retirement accounts are invested. As you get closer to retirement, many people choose to gradually reduce risk by shifting some of their savings into more stable options like bonds or fixed income funds. Others prefer to keep a portion invested in stocks to maintain growth potential. There is no single formula that fits everyone, which is why it can be valuable to meet with a financial advisor who understands your personal goals, your timeline, and your comfort level with risk. Sometimes, people feel intimidated by the idea of talking to an advisor, worried that they'll be judged for starting late or not knowing all the details. But most professionals have worked with many clients who are in exactly the same situation, and they can help you look at your options without criticism or pressure. In addition to maximizing contributions, you might also explore whether rolling over old retirement accounts into a single IRA could simplify your finances. Consolidating accounts can make it easier to track your progress and avoid missing required minimum distributions when the time comes. Taking full advantage of your retirement accounts is one of the most practical ways to make sure your money keeps working for you, even if you began saving later than you hoped. These tools exist specifically because so many people find themselves needing to build more security in their 50s and 60s. When you use them thoughtfully and consistently, they can help you feel less anxious about the future and more prepared to enjoy the freedom that comes with retirement on your own terms. As you move closer to retirement, one of the most important steps you can take is protecting what you've worked so hard to save. For many people who begin planning after 55, there's a strong desire to catch up quickly, and that urgency sometimes leads to choices that feel exciting in the moment but carry more risk than they realize. While it's natural to hope for investments that will grow your money faster, it can be helpful to remember that preserving your nest egg matters just as much as growing it. A balanced approach often starts by reviewing how your retirement accounts and savings are allocated. Some people find that over the years, their investments have become heavily weighted in stocks, which can be more volatile, especially during market downturns. Others may have stayed too conservative, keeping everything in cash or low-yield accounts out of fear. Neither extreme is necessarily the best fit as you prepare to transition out of full-time work. For many retirees, a mix of stocks, bonds, and stable assets provides both some opportunity for growth and a cushion of safety against unexpected market swings. One strategy that can ease worry is creating a bucket approach to your savings. In this model, you set aside money in different categories depending on when you expect to need it. The first bucket holds cash and very low-risk investments to cover near-term expenses, perhaps the next 2 to 3 years of living costs. The second bucket might include moderately conservative investments like bonds or CDs that will be used in the next 5 to 10 years. The third bucket can hold more growth-oriented investments, which you won't touch until later. By dividing your resources this way, you can feel more confident that you won't have to sell investments at a loss during a market dip just to cover your bills. In addition to diversification, protecting your savings also means being cautious about offers that sound too good to be true. Sadly, Financial scams targeting seniors have become more common in recent years. You may receive phone calls, emails, or even mailings that promise guaranteed returns or special insider opportunities. It can feel flattering to be invited into something exclusive, but reputable investments rarely come with pressure to act immediately. If you ever feel uncertain about an offer, it's wise to take a step back and talk it through with someone you trust or a licensed advisor. Another way to safeguard your financial future is by considering insurance products that can help cover unexpected events. Some people explore annuities for guaranteed income, while others look into long-term care insurance to protect against the high cost of healthcare later in life. These options are not right for everyone, but learning about them early gives you time to weigh the pros and cons carefully rather than feeling rushed. Investing with care doesn't mean giving up on growth. It simply means being thoughtful about the balance between opportunity and security. When you protect what you have, you create the space to enjoy your retirement years with more peace of mind, knowing that you build a plan designed to weather both the expected and the unknown. As you look back over all the steps we've covered, you may notice something that feels a little surprising. None of these ideas require you to be perfect, to have started saving in your 20s, or to have every detail figured out in advance. They don't demand that you become a financial expert overnight, or that you compare yourself to anyone else's story. What they do require is a quiet belief that it is never too late to begin caring for your own future, and that every effort you make, no matter how small, has the power to create more security and peace of mind than doing nothing at all. Maybe you carry around a feeling that you missed your window to prepare, that the years slipped away while you were busy raising a family, working hard, or simply trying to get by. Those feelings are more common than you might think, and they don't mean you failed. They only mean you're human. The truth is, starting later doesn't erase the possibility of building a life you feel proud of. It simply means you have to be more intentional with the time and resources you have right now. When you bring together the 7 steps we've walked through, understanding your current situation, setting realistic goals, working a little longer, simplify expenses, maximizing retirement contributions, protecting your investments, and choosing wise strategies for growth, you create a foundation that is steadier than it may look at first glance. Every one of these actions can stand on its own, but together, they form a plan that can carry you forward with more confidence. Perhaps the most important thing to remember is that you don't have to walk this path alone. Whether you talk with a financial advisor, connect with supportive family members, or simply spend time learning on your own, you're allowed to ask questions, to explore options, and to keep refining your plan as your needs and circumstances evolve. Retirement is not a single moment in time, but rather a new chapter that can unfold in many different ways. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, it may help to take just one small step today, whether that's reviewing your expenses, increasing your savings contribution by even a little, or making a list of questions you'd like answered. Sometimes, the simple act of moving in any direction is enough to remind you that you are still in control of what happens next. You deserve a retirement that feels stable and meaningful, not because you did everything perfectly, but because you chose to face the future with honesty and courage. It's never too late to start, and it's never too late to believe in the possibility of something better than you imagined. Thank you for spending this time learning and reflecting with me. If you'd like to continue exploring ways to prepare for the years ahead, there are many resources available to guide you, encourage you, and remind you that every day is an opportunity to build the kind of life you truly want. No matter when you begin, your future is worth the effort, and you are worth the care it takes to create it.